Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast. I'm your host, Nathaniel Whitto, and tonight I'm joined by Daniel Ainsworth of Rovers Chat, and we're proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Quality Fish and Chips. So, Daniel, thanks very much for coming on. As a Blackburn Rovers fan, how are you feeling just kind of into the first few weeks of the season?
Yeah, firstly, thank you for having me on. Quite optimistic, but also pessimistic in a way. We had a really good start to the summer. I'm sure we'll go into transfers soon, but we got 3 done before pre-season started, which is unheard of in Rovers terms. We usually, now's normally when we're making the 3rd signing of the summer. We're really positive. And then a bit of news come out about the manager potentially leaving because of issues over in India with financial stuff. And then the mood really dropped. So it's kind of been a really up and down roller coaster. And then we started the season all right. So now the mood's up again. So a very up and down summer. A lot of things happened that we didn't expect, both positive and negative. But looking forward to getting into football. And it's nice having football distracting us now rather than off the field stuff.
Absolutely. So as I sort of said before the podcast, Blackburn have had 2 similar years where it looks like you were going to get into the playoffs and then fell off a little bit at the end, but finished 7th last season. Is up on 13th the previous year. So did Thomason do a good job as a manager in the first season?
Yeah, very good. We lost 3 key players as well, which I don't think's noted too much when people are looking at Rovers last year. We lost the captain, Darragh Lenihan, to Middlesbrough after 9 years at the club. Ryan Nyambe left after what must have been 9 or 10 years at the club, and then Joe Rothwell left. He was kind of our key player in terms of he'd linked the defence and the attack, and Rovers did well responding. We were very up and down. I think we come and played you at your place, and it just fell on the path of us winning 1, losing 1, and we were on a win when we come to you. And then second half of the season, we disappointed. Then we looked really good. We had a cup run as well, which I think benefited us. I know people can say it's a distraction at times, but I think it benefited us. And then we went into the last 10 games or so of the season thinking, do you know what, we can get the playoffs. We had a lot of teams around us at the end of the season as well. We had Luton, Millwall, Preston was still pushing for the playoffs at the time, Coventry. So we went into it thinking, well, if you beat the teams around you, you're going to get in. And Rovers just didn't do enough. We missed out on goal difference. But to be honest, it was that much of a goal difference that it was a point we missed out on realistically, and a point that we should have really got in the end of the day. There were a lot of games where we just, we really flattered to deceive. But ultimately, still a positive season nonetheless, and just looking ahead to this season now, hoping we can go and do something.
So, I mean, I guess perhaps Blackburn were a bit unlucky. I know that there were 2 late equalisers in that run of 1 win in 9 games at the end of the season. If Daniel's still with us, I think there might be some technical difficulties, but I'm going to keep blabbing on for a bit. This season, you said you're optimistic and pessimistic. I think we probably have lost Daniel, or we might have lost me. But yeah, 1 win in the last 9 games of the season at the very end. Very disappointing end for Blackburn Rovers. They've made 4 signings already. Well, hopefully we'll get to talk about that in a little bit. But I think, how many have City made? Is it 4 or 5 now, or perhaps Twine could be announced soon? So probably comparable. And we've completely lost him. He's completely gone. Sorry to anyone listening. I'll try and get him back. But they've made a pretty good start to the season. And of course, at this point of the year, we've got 3 points. They've got 4. So even though they've had, more points than us, there's not really anything to compare in the league table. We've got to probably look at the league table 8, 10, 15, 46 games into the season to understand what's really going on with Blackburn Rovers. Here he comes. He's back.
Apologies there. Just like Rovers, nothing ever runs smoothly. Where was I? Yeah, Rovers, good season last year, but I think it put us in a good position heading into this one, and hopefully, we can go on this year and push on a bit more.
I was just talking about the sort of 1 win in last 9 last season when you left us there. You said that you were optimistic and pessimistic. I think one major thing that a lot of people outside of Blackburn will notice that's different this year is you've lost Brereton Diaz, who would have been your best or at least top 3 players for the last few years. So how big a miss will he be, and have you replaced him?
A massive miss. You can't underestimate Brereton Diaz's influence. I think he had that story about his Chile time, etc. But I think people miss that he also turned from a striker that scored 1 to scoring 20 before Christmas, which was such a big change. Replacing him, we did sign a winger from Iceland called Arno Sigurdsson. The only issue is he got injured straight away, which again sums up us perfectly. He shouldn't be back until October or something. So we've tried to go out and replace him. Your issue with Brereton Diaz is in a club in our position where you probably don't even have $1 million to spend most of the time on a single player. You can't go out and buy a 20-goal a season striker. So you've either got to look within and try and promote one of the players who were on the fringes last year. We've done that. A few players like Dylan Markande, who didn't really get a sniff last year, have been involved in all the games purely because of numbers. Or you've got to get lucky and go abroad and try and sign a striker you've never heard of for £1 million and hope he goes and scores 20, which we are trying. We're yet to have that, but it's hard. Everyone knows what it's like. Unless you're a club that's got the parachute payments and you can go and spend 10 million on a striker, you're scraping around trying to find the next Neil Maupay, aren't you? So replacing him is not going to be easy, and we probably won't. I think we're going to go for more direct replacements, more players that are going to just stand on the edge of the box and put the ball in the net, rather than Brereton Diaz, where we'd often try and take 3 or 4 on and try and do something. So it's a change of approach really for Rovers this year, rather than trying to directly replace Brereton.
Where did he end up going?
At Villarreal. He ended up in La Liga. A nice move for anyone who's gone from Blackburn to Villarreal. I don't blame him one bit. It's slightly better, just a bit better up there.
Much nicer, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about who you brought in. I've noticed that 3 of them are from Scandinavia. Is that the sort of Thomason link, because he's Danish, I believe? So does he have a knowledge of that market?
Yeah, and his managerial success come at Malmo in Sweden. We got a director of football who also worked up in Scandinavia. So that's it. We've gone for, I think we're trying to exploit a market that not too many teams are going into. You see a lot going to the French league. We tried that last year. Couldn't really get anyone. We've tried going a bit out the way. Go where Leicester aren't going to go and bid 5 times as much for a player. We're going to try and go somewhere that maybe Leicester wouldn't consider as such, and we'll go in. Scandinavia is a big part for us, and it will be going forward as well. I think you'll see probably another one coming from there. In fact, we signed a goalkeeper from there actually the other day. So, we're constantly trying to sign Scandinavians and just trying to exploit a market that not many clubs have had success in. Only Brentford's the one I can think of that did well there, but they had the owners there. So, definitely a market that's because of Thomason and because of Greg Broughton, the CEO, as well.
I think it's quite common, really, because obviously the major example is Wolves with Portugal. I was just looking at the amount of Portuguese players. I think they've got 9 Portuguese players, and I think 14 with Brazil and Spain, and 2 English outfield players. So they really, have a big Portuguese contingent, and then Brentford with sort of Denmark, as you said. We've been looking at that or we expected that, our City fans, with our Turkish owner, that we'd be signing a lot of Turkish players. We've only got 2 at the moment. Of course, Ozan Tufan scored a hat-trick at the weekend, so of the 2, he's worked out very well. But we've more been signing players from that league rather than actually Turkish nationals. So I suppose we have been using that sort of thing. And we have a bit of money. We're probably top 10 sort of budgets in the league, certainly, I'd say. Perhaps not quite the level of Leicester, who won the FA Cup and we're in the Champions League just not so long ago. But we're going into the Super League a little bit to find some bargains. So that is certainly a tactic to kind of level the playing field. But a player you've got from England, from newly promoted Plymouth, Neil Ennis. Is he the next Brereton Diaz? Does he perhaps have some, Honduran relatives that he could convert to?
I'm waiting for the next one. Now Ennis is a strange one. Again, we signed him and he got injured, which almost summed up Rovers exactly. But he's come back in, got a few minutes in the cup, scored on his debut in the cup, and then he come on against Rotherham on Saturday. We were 2-0 down. He come on, and his hold-up play were exceptional. There were a long ball that come up to him, and he brought it down, played us in for a second goal, actually. I think he's going to be... Our aim this year, as bad as it sounds for a club that focuses so much on the academy, was to not rely on it as much. You know, last year we had a few young lads come off the bench to play, and obviously it's good seeing your own play, but if you can get someone who knows where the net is and then let your other lads go out on loan. So I think Nyland is one of them. He could force his way in, but I think given where we are at the moment, I think he's going to be quite an impact player, come off the bench, change the game like he did on Saturday, and then maybe start the odd one, because ultimately we're just trying to get as many goal scorers this year. It was all Brereton's job before, and now it's got to be 6 or 7 kind of getting up there on goals. So I think he's a good addition. I'd love it if we had another story where maybe he's Venezuelan somewhere and someone else comes and claims him. But no, I've been excited by his start, but cautiously optimistic, which is a term I use every time about Rovers, because that's what you've got to be.
Yeah. Is he the transfer you're most excited about, or was it the Norwegian midfielder Tronstad?
I like Tronstad. I like him a lot. He's quite a solid, strong midfielder. Probably what you expect in the Championship. He's not going to pull out 40-yard passes, just break the play up. The one I'm excited most about is Sigurdsson that we mentioned. He played for CSKA Moscow, scored against Real Madrid in the Champions League, which I think always gives you a bit of a boost when people see that in front of everyone. I'm just looking forward to having a winger that runs at people and wants to come in and have shots. That's what Brereton Diaz did quite a lot in his good season, maybe not as much last year, although he still had a decent year with 14 goals. But I'm just looking forward to having that winger, that direct winger that gets people off the seats. We haven't had too many of them in recent years. So if Sigurdsson can come in and do that, I think he'll become a massive fan's favourite and probably add something to this team that we don't have.
I think that's definitely what you want from a winger. It seems every time City buy a winger, it's described as someone who's pacey and can cut in and has the skills and be direct. I'm like, well, surely that's every winger, though. What's a winger that isn't trying to do that? You know? So how do you rate your start to the season so far? Because goal scoring doesn't seem to be a problem. 3-2, 4-3 in the cup and then 2-2. But is the defence perhaps not quite as strong as you'd want with those high score lines?
It's been the opposite to what I expected. I expected us to win 1-0 and, scrape 2-1 wins. Yeah, definitely. It's been, I think it's been the midfield more than anything. So you look at going forward, we've had no issue scoring goals. Don't get me wrong, we've probably been a bit wasteful. We don't like having shots on the edge of the area. We'd much rather try and pass it in and pass it into the box and that. But at the back, he did some silly goals. You look at Rotherham the other day, Sammy Smodics, who'd only missed a pen about 5 minutes before, decided to volley the ball across the edge of a box. And its second goal was a set piece that I couldn't tell you the last time Rovers were good at defending set pieces anyway. The first day against West Brom, we give the ball away trying to pass out from the back. I think it's been that link-up that's kind of cost us at times. But the positive for me is that we're scoring goals, because that was my worry this year. I think the defence can get tighter. I don't think if you start the season not scoring goals, I think it's hard to then get in the rhythm of it. So I'm definitely glad it's the way it's fallen and we're not really good defensively but really poor in attack. I'd rather us be able to work on it. But if you can exploit us passing out from the back on Saturday, if you can put that press on us, I wonder maybe, could that be the difference in us losing games this year? Teams that can press as well, because we like to press as well. So, the defence isn't fully up to it yet, although we have probably got the strongest defence out we want. We do want another centre-back. Danny Baspin linked from Sunderland, but whether we get one's another story. Given the financial issues I mentioned, we could see the end of our transfer business already, really.
Well, I was just about to say, I know it's a bit difficult to predict where Blackburn will finish because the transfer window's not finished, but if you did just go into the whole season with this squad and then perhaps a few additions in January, 7th last year, do you think Blackburn have a shot at getting somewhere close to that again this year?
Not with another striker. If we're going off the squad now, I think we'll end up 12th or 13th. I think we'll come out at the end of the year saying, if we had a striker, we'd have got there. And I think that's the feeling at the moment, that you never know. Sigurdsson might come in and be good. Now Ennis might get a run of games and start scoring goals, but it's all ifs, isn't it? It's all, well, if he does do it, it's not a definite. We don't have a striker now. I mean, I look at it and think he's going to get us in the playoffs. Whereas I look at 8 or other 9 teams in this league and think, well, he's better than our striker. Well, more than 8 or 9, really, with a striker better than we've got. So current team, I reckon anywhere between 12th and 15th, but I think it'd be a positive season in terms of without a striker, we'd look at it and think, do you know what, John Dole's not actually done too bad. It'll be interesting to see how we go if we don't get a striker, because people aren't the biggest fan of Sam Gallagher up front, who's probably our number one and our only senior experienced striker at the moment.
So I guess just the main thing, do you have any thoughts on Hull City so far, and how do you see the game going at Ewood Park on Saturday?
I find Hull hard to judge, actually. We're beating Sheff Wednesday the other day. I don't know whether, we know Sheff Wednesday aren't the best aside.
Yeah, they weren't that great.
I thought last year, when we played you away from home, I thought decent enough for Rovers. I noticed over the season probably getting better with a new manager. I can't admit I've seen lots of you, but you're a side that come to Ewood on Saturday. I backed you as my dark horses this year. I thought you might do a bit better. So you're a side that come to Ewood on Saturday, and I'm sat there thinking, I want 3 points, but if we got a point, is 5 points from 3 games too bad given the start we've had? No. You're going to come with quality. I think whenever we play at home, we always look at sides, unless we're playing Leicester, Leeds or Southampton, we look and think it should be 3 points today. It's never that plain sailing, we all know that, but I think you'll come and give us a bit of a better test than maybe we're expecting. I never know. You never know with this division either, do you? You could turn up and be 2 up in 5 minutes, and then we're all sat there, or we could come out the blocks again like we did against West Brom and go 2 up, and then you're in the air, you're chasing. I don't have a clue how it's going to go, though.
Well, yeah, it was Blackburn really should have won the game just a few months ago under the senior. We didn't have a fit striker at that point, whereas we've got basically 4 now. We've got 3 strikers, and then Ozan Tufan scored a hat-trick, and he's sort of been playing as a false 9, number 10 sort of thing, basically a striker. So I think, very different. We should perhaps, if we are on the counter-attack a little bit, because I know we didn't have very much possession away at Norwich. So, I think there could be goals in it. We scored 4 the other day, and then in the other game, and you scored a lot already this season. So perhaps could be quite an exciting game. So, I mean, you said Diaz is gone. Who are the main attacking threats for City fans to look out for?
It's got to be Sammy. It's got to be Sammy Smodics. He's the main one. Done really well. He probably on Saturday had the worst first half compared to the best second half I've seen for a Rovers player ever. Missed a penalty first half, give away our goal, and then scored twice in 2 minutes in the second. So he's really one. He works. Works his socks off, constantly running, constantly trying to do stuff. It doesn't always pay off, but his work ethic and his ability and the way he wants to always be involved, it gets him goals, it gets him involvement. Tyrese Dolan out wide, to skillful winger. Whether he starts tonight, I'm not too sure. We might see some rotation. And Harry Leonard up front, young striker who, although he didn't have the best of games against Rotherham, did well against West Brom on the first day. He's probably our most number 9 like play we've got in the side. He likes to make that running behind the striker. He likes to have a shot on goal. He won't give you defenders a second rest. So them 3 are really kind of the players that you want to watch out for. We do have talent in the front line, and with now Ennis coming off the bench, we're probably a bit more than we had in the past in terms of bench power. But we're only 3 games in, and we're yet to see how we do. When we aren't scoring, when chances aren't coming, we're yet to see whether Rovers are clinical or not, because we've had quite a lot of chances. So it'd be an interesting one to watch, but there's a lot of talent in this side, and it only takes 1 goal to win, so you never know with us. But Smodics is probably the one I'd pick as the main man for Rovers.
Okay, well, this year we're doing a sort of prediction league table at the moment. I mean, we've only predicted the 1 match, but Opposition Fans United is on a whopping 0 points so far. for the amount of scores correctly predicted. So I'll get your official prediction. And I mean, if I want to give you some advice, probably safer to go 1-0, 0-0, because if you get, it's exactly right, then you'll get 3 points. It's probably not going to be 5-5. So what's the official match prediction for Blackburn, Hull City?
I can't back us to keep a clean sheet, but I want to back us to win. So I'll go 2-1. But like I say, it could be anything. 2-1 Rovers, I'll go for it. I think it's a safe option. And we like a 2-1 win normally. If we're going to win at home, it's 2-1. It's very rarely 1-0.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I've written that down and we'll add that to the league table. And I'll go, I think, we've scored some goals. Blackburn have scored some goals. So maybe I'll go for an exciting 2-2. I don't really know if that's going to happen, but sounds like, I'd like it to be a 2-2. That'd be exciting. Although, of course, I'd rather it was 5-0, but I don't really see that happening away from home.
Favour, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much for coming on, Daniel, from Rovers Chat. Where can City and Blackburn fans find your stuff?
You can find us on Twitter at @RoversChat_, just like it says down below, or YouTube Rovers Chat. Anywhere, if you just search Rovers Chat, we'll be there. But thank you very much for having us on. Really appreciate it. Apologies about the technical errors, but really appreciate coming on, and all the best for the season, barring the 2 games we play.
Cool. And last thing, is it coming home on Sunday?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
It's ours finally.
Cool. Well, yeah, good luck to the Lionesses and good luck to Blackburn after the game on Saturday. So thanks very much for coming on. Thanks to everyone for liking and subscribing, and we'll be back next week.